Hello, and welcome to Moments in History. I'm Linda Shenton-Matchett, author, speaker, and history geek. While researching my stories, I unearth tons of intriguing information that does not end up in my books. So I've created this channel to share these tidbits with you. I really appreciate you stopping by to watch. By December of 1866, only 20 months had passed since the end of the American Civil War. The country was beginning to heal in fits and starts, but tensions still ran deep. Perhaps this is the reason that Indiana's Wabash College professor John Campbell contacted Philadelphia Mayor Morton McMichael to suggest that his city host the United States Centennial with an exposition. Naysayers argued that the project would not be able to find funding, other nations might not attend, and domestic exhibits might compare poorly to foreign exhibits. After 3 long years of discussions, the Philadelphia City Council resolved in January of 1870 to hold the Centennial Exposition in the city in 1876. The Council and the Pennsylvania General Assembly then created a committee to study the project and seek support from the U.S. Congress. Representative Daniel Johnson Morrell introduced a bill to create a United States Centennial Commission. The bill, which passed on March 3, 1871, provided that the U.S. government would not be liable for any expenses. Women played a large role in fundraising for the exposition. One site indicates that Elizabeth Duane Gillespie, great-great-granddaughter of Benjamin Franklin, led a quote-unquote female army throughout the streets to sell subscriptions of stock, which resulted in $1 million. In addition, the women had collected 82,000 signatures and obtained letters from around the country that convinced Congress to lend $1.5 million to the event organizers. 11 months prior to the exposition, the women were informed that there was no longer room to house their displays in the main building. Incensed, Elizabeth turned to her army again, and in 4 months raised more than $31,000, enabling them to erect a 1-acre women's pavilion, the first at any World's Fair. An unfortunate aside involves the design of the pavilion. The committee's aim was to employ only women in the construction and powering of the building, and they succeeded with the exception of the design, which was done by Herman J. Schwartzman. It was only later discovered that architect Emma Kimball of Lowell, Massachusetts, was available for the project. Much of the pavilion was devoted to human ecology and home economics. Numbers differ, but range between 74 and 80 inventions patented by women on display, including a hand attachment for sewing machines, a dishwasher, a fountain griddle greaser, a heating iron with a removable handle, a frame for stretching and drying lace curtains, and a stocking and glove darner. Additional exhibits demonstrated women's achievement in industrial and fine arts, with items such as wood carvings, furniture making, ceramics, clothing, and woven goods. Other displays highlighted women's philanthropy and accomplishments in science, medicine, education, and literature. One of the most popular exhibits was the portable engine supplying steam power to the pavilion's machinery, which included a printing press that produced an 8-page weekly paper called The New Century, financed entirely by the Women's Centennial Committee. Edited by Philadelphian Sarah Hollowell, the periodical advocated for women's rights in the home and in the marketplace. A coin commemorating the Women's Pavilion, made of white glass, was available for purchase. On the front of the coin, it featured the U.S. seal surrounded by 1776 American Celebration 1876. On the reverse side, a relief of the building surrounded by the words, "Her works praise her," and Women's Pavilion. Similar words were hung above each entrance to the pavilion. Here is a description of the building from the exhibition booklet. The Women's Pavilion is situated on the east side of Belmont Avenue, opposite the United States Government Building, It consists of 2 intersecting aisles, each 64 by 192 feet. At the end of each of these aisles is an 8 by 32 foot porch. The corners formed by the 2 aisles are filled by 4 pavilions, each 48 feet square. The center of the building is raised 25 feet higher than the rest of the building and is surmounted by an observatory with a dome on top, 90 feet above the ground. The material is wood. The interior is very attractive. 4 columns supporting the dome are the only loads that can obstruct the view. The roof is mainly supported by trusses resting on the outer walls. The walls are painted in a light color, carefully paneled with blue on the ceilings. The panels on the side walls are decorated with allegorical groups of faith, hope, charity, art, work, education, and the family, after drawings by Camille Pitou. The pavilion covers an area of 30,000 square feet. An unfortunate slight occurred to African American women who were asked by the committee to join the work as a separate auxiliary committee called the Colored Women's Centennial Committee. Auxiliary groups members could only go into the homes of other African Americans. When these women protested, Mary Rose Smith, co-coordinator of the Women's Committee, stated that the work of the Centennial did not concern them, but quote-unquote, only white people. Stunned, and rightly offended, the Colored Women's Committee rejected the offer to help. In an attempt to correct the damage done by Smith's actions, Elizabeth Gillespie held several meetings with the 2 committees, with the Women's Committee passing a series of resolutions issuing an apology and stating that Smith meant no harm. Some of the African Americans accepted the apology and began collaborating with Smith and her committee, but many others refused. Exasperating the situation, Centennial officials would only include African Americans in stereotypical and subservient roles. Over the course of the exposition that ran from May 10th through November 10th, more than 10 million people visited the fair, but the event was not financially successful for its investors. However, a positive result of the exposition was that it impressed other countries, and the level of exports increased. Imports also decreased, and the trade balance grew in favor of the United States. I hope you've enjoyed today's moment in history. If you'd like to learn more history, please stop by my blog that can be found on my website at www.lindashentonmatchett.com. Please consider subscribing to my channel and click the bell icon to receive notifications of new episodes that generally release on the 2nd and 4th Friday of every month. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your week.